Today's class will see the basic building blocks of IoT. Okay, especially the IoT device we'll see. Okay, so basic building blocks of IoT include we have already discussed about the sensors, actuators, then the communication medium, then finally comes the analysis and processing part. Okay, so we have already discussed. I don't think you need further explanation for that. So let us go to the building blocks of an IoT device. So the first thing what you can see is the sensors, the actuators, then the communication part, and the analysis and processing parts, right? So in order for coordinating all this, there should be an IoT device, so which is capable of accessing the data or getting the data from different end devices like sensors or actuators. You can see here, okay, sensors or actuators, and which is able to communicate to the devices, say sending some information to the actuators or receiving information from the sensors. So should be in a position to communicate with the devices, and also the whatever data it has collected from the end devices like sensors or actuators should be sent to basically a server or cloud storage, so that this data could be converted into a standard format wherein you can do analysis and ultimately get insights from the data, right? So such a device which is capable of sending information to the end devices, physical end devices, or receiving information from the end devices is a simple computer-based single board computer system, you can say, okay, or microcomputer, you can say. It's called Raspberry Pi. Okay, so here I'm showing the block diagram of this Raspberry Pi. You can see here two diagrams are there, just a block diagram and the actual physical Raspberry Pi device image is at the right side. Okay, yeah, this is the actual device. So this actual device, if I show in the form of block diagram, these I can say that these are the major components, okay, which include, just like any other personal computer system, it include a processor, CPU or GPU, then audio, video jackets, and then memory interfaces, storage interfaces, and other interfaces. These interfaces will help Raspberry Pi to be connected to other modules, okay, other physical devices, so that they can interact and access data. And here comes the connectivity part, which include the say if you want to connect this Raspberry Pi to your USB, or you want to connect it to the internet, so you can make use of Ethernet. So there is a connectivity part as well. Okay. All these are marked here as well. Okay, so basically this you can see this particular square shape thing is the processor. Okay, like any other computer, this also has a processor. Along with that, the processor, it has a GPU also associated with it. So basically this follows a system on chip architecture. You might have learned about it in lower classes. System on chip architecture means if two or more components integrated together to a single chip, it is called system on chip. So in here in Raspberry Pi, we have the processor, then the clock, and the GPU that is fabricated into a single component, a single chip. Okay, so it is a system on chip. Next, you can see here there are Ethernet ports and USB ports. We know the purpose of Ethernet ports in our personal computers. So basically used for connecting to the internet, and USB port to which you can insert your computer's keyboard or mouse or any other USB drive Okay, so like many devices, you can insert into it so that you can give input or you can get output from it. Next, we have a audio jacket. Okay, just for plugging audio jackets into it. And here we have a camera module. So there are separate camera modules available that you can insert into this slot basically. Okay, so basically this will capture the, say if you want to capture real-time information, real-time images, video from the environment in which you are working, you can make use of that. Just insert the camera module into it and we can start making use of the information coming from that. Then here comes the HDMI ports. Basically, this will enable the system to be connected to a monitor, okay, or say an LCD display. Okay, so there are two HDMI ports. One is enough, but additionally one more you can make use of if you want to connect to more number of display devices. Next comes the micro USB power port, wherein you can give power to the system. And here comes a slot for SD card, not this one, but underneath this particular slot. Okay, this particular slot is serial digital serial interface slot. It has other purposes. We'll look into that. Basically, that this particular slot is used for connecting different other modules into this Raspberry Pi. Okay, so we'll see what are the kind of interfaces present, serial interfaces. So what I want to show here is the micro SD card, which will be inserted into this into a slot under this this particular slot. Okay. So what it basically does is this Raspberry Pi, when it comes as an empty board with these many components, and the micro SD card, you have to write the operating system for this device. Okay, so there are different operating systems available. So basically, the most common operating system you used for Raspberry Pi is called Raspbian operating system, which is Linux-based operating system. Okay, so you can use a SD card writer. Write into that SD card which you want to insert into the corresponding slot. Okay, so once you insert into it, later you can plug in the devices, rest of the devices which is required for functioning of the board, and then when you power on the system, it will boot with the actual operating system. Okay, the operating system which you have written into the SD card. So all this you have to do configure manually. Okay, and even the connectivities connecting to the HDMI port or power or Ethernet port, all this you have to configure for making it work. Okay, let us see a detailed diagram. You can see here, right, the detailed diagram. Basically here I have explained almost all the components. Now let us see. This is a processor which I was showing in the previous slide. So this processor is basically built by a company. Actually, this is there are two cases wherein one company, that is ARM, which is designing this processor, and another company called Broadcom is manufacturing this chip. Okay, so that is why it is called Broadcom or BCM 2835, wherein Broadcom is actually manufacturing this particular chip, whereas ARM or Advanced RISC machine, you have already heard about it, right? So ARM is the one who is designing this particular product, and the CPU is for Raspberry Pi 3, there are various versions of this Raspberry Pi board available. So Raspberry Pi 3 basically has 32-bit processor, okay, and which is capable of processing 32-bit in a clock cycle, right? So yeah, and the peculiarity this is, as I mentioned, it is a system on chip. The benefit of system on chip is basically it consumes less power, and it will have a good performance as well, reasonable performance as well, because you have the GPUs when integrated along with it. It's going to process fast the images and the rest of the data coming into it, right? And so basically, that's the benefit of having a SoC. Yeah, let us see the. Yeah, DSI is display connector. This one. Okay, DSI display connector. The rest of the things I have explained. This I have explained. Okay, let us come to this DSI display connector. Basically, what it is. The next coming slides I have showed. Okay, so this DSI display connector in here, you can see that it's a display serial interface which is used for connecting with the other modules. The top one, what you can see, is the Raspberry Pi module, and beneath that there is one more board you can see. So whenever you want, say, to work with different modules or different components, say, for example, in case of Raspberry Pi 3, I think Wi-Fi module, Wi-Fi inbuilt feature is not available. So what you need to do is you will get a separate Wi-Fi module. You have to plug this modules together to make it work. So similarly, if you want to work with any other component, okay, so you can make use of this serial interface wherein you can connect it with the other devices. So yeah, basically, I'll show you the theory part of the same. Yeah, there are three serial interfaces available. Basically, first one is called I2C, which is nothing but integrated circuit. Okay, this is basically used for half duplex serial data transmission, which is used for short distance between the boards and modules and peripherals. Okay, and it make use of 2 pins of Raspberry Pi. So we will see about the pinout diagram a bit later. So let us first be familiar with the rest of the components. Okay. So yeah, that's about I2C. I hope you know what is half duplex and all. So I don't know to explain. Need not give more explanation for that. I think so. Okay. So and basically it uses a 7-bit address. You can the addressing scheme that will be able to address more number of devices, basically using this 7-bit addressing. Okay, so using 7-bit addressing, I2C can support basically 127 devices, right? Or you can call it as nodes as well, different other nodes or devices. Okay, and similarly, SPI is nothing but full duplex and serial data transmission used for short distance between the devices, and it makes use of 4 pins. Similarly, we have UART, universal asynchronous receiver transmitter, which is asynchronous serial transmission between 2 devices, and this also uses 2 pins. Okay. So I hope you're familiar with such diagrams wherein you have something called as serial data address and the clock selector for selecting the clock. Okay, so all of this you are familiar with. Okay, so here multiple devices you can connect using this I2C. And for SP, this is a block diagram wherein you have something called as chip select or CS. Okay, here it's mentioned as CS chip select, which is used for selecting different devices connected to it. Okay, and in UART, again transmitter receiver. This transmitter will be connected to the receiver, and here the receiver will be connected to the transmitter, and likewise. Okay, so yeah. So which one should be made use of according to according to the requirement, user requirement? Any of this could be made use of. Okay, so basically, yeah, whenever there is if the speed of sending data or receiving the data is the most important, in that case you can go with the SPI. Okay, and whereas if you don't want much you're not concerned much about the speed of data transfer, you can go with the I2C, or you can go with the UART. So depending on the requirement, basically these devices, different type of communication mechanism could be made use of. Okay. Yeah, I hope you know the rest of the components. Okay. Yeah. So when considering the so we know that UART is the slowest one, and I2C is one of the fastest one, faster one, and SPI is the fastest one, right? If speed is important, then you can go with selecting SPI, then I2C, and last UART. And if you want to connect more number of devices into it, say UART can make use of only 2 devices, whereas SPI you can make use of many devices. And I2C, as I said, you can connect up to 127 devices, but it will be very complex if you connect more than say two devices, because the configuring and data transfer, because of the constraints of the small microcomputer, it is going to be very complex for data transferring, and the system also slows down. If you work with it, you can really feel that. Okay, if you connect more number of devices into it, the system will be very slow in working. Though this SPI I2C, if you have concern about connecting more number of devices, you can make use of I2C, so that since it supports 127 devices. Okay, so by considering the number of devices connected to it, I2C is going to the best. Or if you are considering the speed as a criteria, then SPI is the best. Okay, then coming to the data transfer distance, these devices are basically capable of transferring information only to a limited distance, few meters only. Okay, so it's not good for transferring information for a long distance, because you will be using for such kind of applications only, wherein only short communication is required. Okay. Now, when you compare this UART, I2C, and SPI in terms of the data transfer, data transmission confirmation, the I2C basically this will enable this will ensure that the transmitted data is being received by the other device. Okay, so this is basically good for finding out whether any data loss has happened or not. So because it finally confirms whether the data sent is being received by the other device or not. So there are many advantages when you consider the I2C. Okay, wherein I2C will enable the device or Raspberry Pi device to be connected to many number of other devices, and also it in terms of data transmission also it confirms whether the data is being received by the other device or not. Whereas if you want to see the speed of data transmission as a criteria, then SPA is the best. Okay. So that's all about I2C, SPI, and UART. Now, into how this how we can make this Raspberry Pi work. So as I mentioned, you have to write separate operating system into the memory card and insert the memory card underneath this particular interface slot. Okay, there is another jacket where you can insert the micro SD card, and rest of the devices you may have to connect manually to it. Say, for example, one port for keyboard, one port you can make use of mouse, and here one HDMI port wherein you can say plug the LCD monitor. Okay, because you have to have one or the other interface for working with it. So you have to have all these components: mouse, keyboard, and LCD display. Then another optional HDMI port if you want to work with multiple screens. That then Ethernet port, okay, where you can plug the Ethernet cable, and also and from Raspberry Pi 4 version 4 onwards, we have built-in Wi-Fi module available. You can directly connect it to the wireless network, and yeah, the optional headphone or speaker port, and yeah. Now, when you plug this power supply into this USB power USB port, so what happens is the system starts booting. You don't need to trigger with any other switch or something like that. It will start booting whenever you power the device, and make sure that you have the micro SD card inserted into it. Okay, so in the LCD display, whatever you have connected through the HDMI port, you will be able to see such kind of user interface at the beginning. Okay. So the symbol is just like a start button in the Windows, and this is a browser, mini browser, which is available. These are the file systems, and so I said that it is basically a Linux-based operating system. So you can work with the terminal system as well. So you have the icon for the terminal. So yeah, here it gives a good idea about what the system how the system looks like, what are the applications available. So like any other operating system, it has built-in applications available in the Raspbian OS, and you have a programming environment like basic versions of Python. All these you can access from here. Okay. Yeah, and then you have the terminal and task manager, SD card copier here. So many small applications here. So this terminal is, as you know, that it's very important and useful one, where you can just work with the you can just work with the terminal system, or you can interact with the file system of the operating system. You can make use of system calls, and you can make use of commands and options available with the commands, so that you can configure the system according to your wish, or you can whatever libraries you want, you can download or install using this command. So this is pretty good from the user perspective, which will enable using commands different setup and configuration for your systems working. Okay. And this is just a editor application. Now, before going into the programming details, let us see the pinout diagram of this Raspberry Pi. So this part I haven't explained so long so far. So this is a GPIO indicating general purpose input output. Okay, general purpose input output pinout diagram. Okay, and the pin numbers are shown here. So using this GPIO pins, basically you will be able to input data to the system, or you can configure these pins as output pins as well, and so that any device connected to it can get information from the device. Okay, excuse me for a while. Yeah. So that's the purpose of this basic GPIO pin, wherein you can configure the pins as either input pins or output pins. A few of the pins. Okay, you can configure it as input pin or output pin, and that will help you to interact with the system, or it will help you to fetch the data from the system. So, so that's the purpose of this GPIO pins. And here you can see the pinout diagram. Basically, the first pin. Okay, the first pin shown here is put in the square. Square shape, and one, and the second pin shown here is in the circle, which is mentioned as pin number 2. Basically, this is for power pins. Okay, low power and high power pins. So the purpose of yeah, this pinout diagram is whenever you are writing your program, you can make use of these pin numbers, and you can specify what pin you are going to configure as input pin, or what pin you are going to configure as an output pin. So basically, the GPIO numbering schemes, there are two GPIO numbering schemes available. One is called GPIO board numbering scheme. Another one is called GPIO BCM. Okay, Broadcom. Okay. Yeah. Here, GPIO board. The first classification of the pin diagram is the one which you can see in the long red rectangle, which is called as GPIO board pin numbers. Whereas if you see the pin number corresponding to this pin, GPIO board pin number 3, it is written as GPIO 2. Okay, so this diagram is basically this kind of representation is basically called as GPIO Broadcom numbering system. Okay, GPIO Broadcom numbering system. So either you can mention this GPIO Broadcom or BCM numbering system, or you can go with the GPIO board numbering scheme. So both are allowed, but before that, you must explicitly mention whether you are going with the GPIO Broadcom numbering scheme or GPIO board numbering scheme. So in the program, you must explicitly, whenever you are writing code, you have to configure it, or you have to set up the system using either Broadcom or using BCM. You will see that. So I hope you are understood. Okay, so the conclusion is that inside this long rectangle, whatever you are seeing is the GPIO board pin numbering system, whereas GPIO BCM numbering system is the one which you can see here in the blue shade. Okay. and the one you can see here is the board pin item. Okay, you can make out from this diagram very clearly. So top left pin is numbered 1, and right side all even numbers, and left side all odd numbers, since it starts from the top left. Okay, so but whereas when you consider this it has random ordering, you can see here. Then GPIO 2, 3, 4, then you see GPIO 5 is over here, GPIO 5, 6 is over here. So you should know which pin is what in BCM basically, whereas here you will have a rough idea about where the pin lies, but here in the BCM you will not get an exact idea of where the pin is lying, because it has some random order. Okay. Let's see how to start coding with it. Yeah, it's a GPU first. Yeah. Okay, let me read this first. So the 17 pins in the GPIO serial pin out diagram could be configured as input pin or output pin. By default, these pins are configured as input pin, except this GPIO 14 as well as 15. Okay. Now, in order to use these pins, you must tell the system whether they are input pins or output pin. So basically, how you are doing all this is with the help of Python library for general purpose input output system. So you can make use of this rpy.gpio and you can install this rpy.gpio into your system using this command pip install rpy.gpio. I hope you can understand what I'm saying. See, in the terminal you have to execute this command so that the library corresponding to this GPIO gets installed into the machine, and later you can work with the, whenever you're writing your program, you can work with the GPIO libraries for functionality, whatever functionalities defined in this library. You can make use so that you can do a lot of operations using that. Okay, so use pip install rpy.gpio, and the backup library files will get installed. Okay, now let us start with a very simple example to turn on the video. Any doubts so far? Please do ask if you have any doubt. I'll go into the programming part. Any doubts so far? No doubts. Okay. Okay. So the first program here we are using the programming language Python. So from the UI interface, what I have shown here, you can just get the basic version of Python from here, and you can open an editor. You can start writing. Okay. Just like how you work with your machine, personal computer, the same way. You can just write in a notepad and you can execute the code. Okay, and you can see the output. If the devices are connected to it, you can see the output in the device. You can write the code accordingly. Okay, or there are certain built-in LEDs available. Here I am using a separate LED. Okay. So since we are working with the GPIO pins, as I mentioned, you have to have your GPIO system installed into your machine, download into your machine. So you can import that first. In Python, we know that for doing many things, we have standard libraries available. So import this rpy.gpio as GPIO, and next comes how you are going to name your numbering system. So um, pin out numbering schemes. Okay. So what you need to do is, using this GPIO, you have to set the mode of operation. That is, explicitly you are mentioning that I'm going to use a board numbering scheme. So so you have to set the mode as GPIO dot board. If you want to use the numbering as BCM, you have to explicitly mention here GPIO.BCM. Okay, this is the mode. If not broad. So whatever it is, you have to explicitly state using the set mode method that you are going to set the mode to BCM, or you are going to set the mode to board. Okay. Now, once you set the mode, you have to mention that whether the pin what you are considering from these input output pin slots is a input port or output port. So show which pin you are using. Since I am using the board, you have to make use of these numberings which are there inside these circles. So I'm using this GPIO 3. Sorry, not GPIO 3. I'm using the pin number 3. Pin number 3. So use pin number 3, then comma, state that you are going to configure the pin as a output pin. Since my objective is to turn on the LED connected to this Raspberry Pi. Okay. Say if I have set the mode as GPIO.BCM, in that case, here instead of 3, you should have mentioned it as GPIO 2. Okay, so that's the difference. The rest remains the same, because there also you'll be setting the pin as an output pin. So the second parameter is going to be GPIO output pin itself. Okay, so this is going to change. If it is BCM, then it is going to be GPIO2, which corresponds to the pin number 3 of the board. Okay, and now once you do that, what I'm doing is I'm just making that particular pin value, the output pin value high. That means you are going to pass a +5 voltage into the pin number 3, and you have already stated that it is the output pin. So plus high voltage will be outed to that pin. So whenever you are setting up the circuit, you have to connect the LED to the pin number 3, say through a resistor, so that it regulates the power to that LED. Okay, so that is how you make the system work. This is a very simple example. I'll show you the output of the same. So same code, import GPIO as GPIO, then set mode as GPIO.board, then set up it as output pin, and initially I have here in the code, initially I have initialized the value as false, so that logic low value goes to the pin number 3, and to show that the LED is turned off at the beginning. Okay. You can see there the output. You can see here in the Python shell how it is executing. And yeah, here this is the LED which is connected to the Raspberry Pi board. So initially, since you are passing a logic low value, so turned off. Now we are going to change the value from false to true. When you are running that module, you can see that the LED is turned on. Okay, you can see that LED is turned on. Okay. Same way, uh, there is another simple example. Okay, to blink the LED every 1 second, and the LED is connected to Raspberry Pi pin 3. Okay, and so the same procedure goes here. Initially, you have to import the library, GPU library. Then, yeah, since I am taking care of the one more parameter here, that is time. The LED has to blink only for 1 second. So we require another supporting file for time. So import the library time. If not present, again pip install. Okay, and then yeah, similar to the previous case here, also set the mode of this Raspberry Pi to the GPIO board or GPIO BCM and set up it as an output pin. Next, what I'm doing is I'm going to apply initially high voltage to pin number 3, and I'm going to add a delay here using time to sleep. I'll be adding a delay of 1 second. Okay, wait for 1 second, because this will enable the system to show the output for a duration of 1 second. That means for a for a duration of 1 second, it will be you can see that the LED is on, and after a second delay, you execute the second command, and so that the LED turns off, make the output value false, and again give a delay of 1 second, so that again for 1 second the value low will be available in the pin number 3. So I hope you got the logic behind this. What we are doing, we are adding a delay between the two GPIO outputs, right? We are adding delay between the two GPIO outputs. One is 2 and another one is 1. So is added here and delay is added here, so that you will feel like the LED is blinking. Since for this 1 second duration of time, no other commands will get executed, because the system will be sleeping for 1 second. So this will be high for that time. Okay, and also this will be low for 1 second. Okay, so you get the feel of the LED is blinking. So that's logic behind that. So we can see this same code here also. Same code here also. Yeah, I think you can see it here. Here is the LED. See the LED down. I hope we can see that. Okay. Next comes the LED brightness control. So here, yeah. So for the brightness control purpose, what we are doing is we are making use of the pulse width modulation PWM software PWM signal, and we are giving what is the corresponding brightness value, okay, for that PWM. So let me show that. So first, the first step is the same. Initially, you have to import the GPIO libraries, then set the mode to GPIO board. Then comes setting the or configuring the pin to an output pin, and uh, here you are giving using a variable called brightness value and just assigning the percentage of brightness. So I'm giving here percentage of brightness as 90%, 90 percentage brightness, and okay, and GPR.pwm, the PWM, the first parameter is the pin number, and the second parameter is the frequency. That means in 1 second, the 500 hertz is the frequency corresponding to the PWM signal. Okay, for a 1 second, and you are going to create an instance of that, and using that instance you are going to say what how much brightness you are going to give, okay, for that PWM signal. So that is what you do using the brightness value. You just start or pass the value into the LED, okay. So I hope you can understand. This is just like um, the duty cycle corresponding to a pulse. Okay, for example, say suppose the pulse starts from here, and it ends here, and here the next cycle starts. The first cycle ends here. So 25% is the duty cycle, and 50% duty cycle means it will have brightness for half of the time, and 75% of the time, if you want the brightness, then this will be the case. So basically the brightness value is nothing but the duty cycle corresponding to a clock, okay, right, a pulse. So that means 90% of the time here, corresponding to a clock, a logic high is been given. So let us see corresponding to that, the same code. We have import GPU, then time module imported, then set value as output, brightness value here. Initially the brightness value is 10. So that you can, why I have kept 10 is because you will be able to identify the change in brightness with the percentage value, okay. So let us see that. This is the initial brightness. Now when you change the brightness, say the brightness is changed to 50. That means 50% of the duty cycle going to be high. So the intensity, you can see that it's more now when compared to the previous case, the intensity is more. So 90% of the brightness. You can see the difference again. Right. Okay. So far, you have any doubt? No. Next, another code to increase and decrease the LED brightness gradually. So the code remains the same, but the logic you are going to write according to this way. So the initial part is the same. Initially importing the libraries and time required imported, then set mode to GPU board and set up the pin number 3 as output pin. Then brightness value anyway you may have to increase because you have to set some value because you are going to gradually increase and decrease the brightness value. So initially you can set some value. Again, PWM produces 500 hertz, and using the instance, you are going to start by setting the percentage of value as 0. Okay. Initially, the value has been due to cycling has been given 0, and what we are going to do is we are going to have a infinite loop wherein you have variable x starting from 0 to 100 and we are going to start with generate the signal. Okay. So this basically will keep increment the range value, and it basically changes the value of x from 0 to 100. So we will be able to see the brightness value changing from 0 to 100. Okay. And the delay given is 0.1 second, so that you can see the gradual increase and decrease. Similarly, so in here you will be able to see that LED starts from uh, dim light towards high brightness, and being in the highest brightness, again you have another code x in range of 100, p dot start of 100 minus x. This will gradually reduce the brightness gain. Okay, and the time delay again given is 0.1. So you will be able to see a gradual decrease in the brightness. Okay, let me show you the output. The previous code, actually this is not required brightness value, not required. Okay, or else you have to set it as 0, then that's not required. You have to use the same variable, no problem. See the output. already increased. We can see the output. Now brightness comes down. Yeah. Okay, that's all for today. Rest I'll do in the next class. Any doubt you have? Please do ask if you have any doubt.